Hey, so going to talk about boundaries today. Um, it's alive in my body. It's alive in the field, the people I'm talking to, and a lot of us have a really hard time with it. So I went to a cuddle party last night, and it's kind of an edgy space for me because there's so much consent. Check in. Can I do this? Check in. Can I do that? Check in. And I was really congratulating myself for doing such a good job, like using my yes and no, asking for what I wanted, leaving a scene if it felt like the right time to leave, like being super honest. And then like when the party ended, feeling like I could just check out in ease. Like, okay, I don't need to do boundaries anymore. Like the activity, the workshop is over. So now I can just be easy and not have boundaries, but not having boundaries is not easy. So something transpired, after the cuddling that was yummy and juicy for a lot of people. But the reality in my body is I wasn't there. And I didn't necessarily want to be around it or in that scene. And I did not use my voice. And I felt it in my body. I didn't want to shame anyone else in their pleasure. So as we come into this, like knowing how to have boundaries is like not trying to own it for anybody else. Like you do you, I'm celebrating this, I'm all in it, I want you to have it, but I need to honor me too. And sometimes those things are at conflict and it feels really yucky because we're torn between, do I honor what my body is saying? Or do I honor this beautiful thing that's happening that I have no judgment around, and yet I'm just not there? So the more we practice boundaries, the easier this gets because it's not really an easy thing for any of us. But the more that we get into our authentic yes and no and own up to when we didn't honor it and speak to those people or speak to ourselves or journal or whatever feels comfortable, the more ease that there develops with all of it. So a beautiful way to do this, like, is to, for me, I'm super embodied person, like that's what I'm into. But I think that's true for all of us. We just don't know. So to give yourself a hot second, a good pause to be like, am I a yes to this? And if it's not really clear, maybe to put a hand on your body, a hand on your heart. Pause again, breathe again, big breath. The answers come through the breath. The answers come through the pause. And then if it's still not clear, sitting with the body, what do I feel? Okay, I feel a little tension in my low back. All right, let me take a breath with that. Let me take as many breaths as it needs. Does the tension start to dissipate, or is the tension telling me something? Is it telling me that I'm not quite in alignment with whatever's happening? Okay, that's information. And then when we have that information, that's the awareness that gives us the power to then make a decision. So the decision doesn't have to be, okay, I'm not into this, I'm out, There's an ease with the breath and being with the body and knowing I have this. I trust myself. I trust my body. My body has infinite wisdom. My body knows what it wants and does not want right now. And then letting go of whatever story or trying to figure it out. Why am I not comfortable? What is my body telling me? Why? Is this a past thing? Is this a trauma? Is this from childhood? Like, none of that matters. It does matter, and maybe that will reveal itself eventually. But in the moment when we're just trying to assess, am I in alignment with this or not? We don't have to have a reason. We don't have to have an excuse. We don't have to say anything to anybody. It's just like, this is in alignment with where I am right now. I don't even necessarily know why, but it's just not. And then breathe with that. So I know there's nervousness too around us traumatizing ourselves and doing things that we don't really want to. And yes, that's a reality. But the trauma comes when we attach a story to it. I just went against my boundaries. I always do this. I always let people do this to me. People take advantage of me. Now I'm in this spiral. when it can just be, this doesn't feel good, here I am, maybe I caught it later than I would have liked, maybe the next time I'll catch it a little bit sooner. Yeah? It's all practice. It's all an experiment. We're all trying this out for, a lot of us for the first time. We're just doing the best that we can. And so that gentle ease and forgiveness of people maybe who have stepped on our boundaries and didn't know, maybe they did it intentionally. People who aren't as good at their boundaries, aren't good at this practice. No matter what it is, just like a gentle softness with it, not trying to figure it out, not trying to correct it, not trying to fix it. This just isn't in alignment right now. Okay. And this is the boundaries around everything, not just touch I'm talking about. I'm talking about when people try to process with you or unload information and you just don't have the capacity for it. Or when people request your time and you're like, I can't do that. I can't spend all night with you. It's finding these, like, the agency. That's what it is. The agency and the power when we tap into, like, I can create whatever reality I want to. I can say yes to this engagement and say, I have a half an hour for you. Or I can say yes to this conversation and say, like, I have this and this appointment coming up. I can only give you 15 minutes, but I'm going to be present for those 15 minutes. And when we put the boundaries around it, the parameters around it, there's an ease. Our body relaxes into it, like, okay, you got me. You got me. You're not going to overstretch me. You're not going to do things that you know are not good for your body. None of us have endless capacity to hold space for other people, to be involved in physical things all the time, to have conversations all the time, to do community social gatherings all the time. We all have boundaries. They're all different. They change all the time. But this is a really simple way to just tap into, the authenticity in this moment. Where am I at? Where do I feel that in my body? What is it telling me? And then just say it simply, without apology, without excuse. That will happen in the beginning, especially if it's new. But just say, this isn't for me right now. I'm not in alignment. I had a nephew when he was 2. He's much older now. But when he was 2 and he didn't like something, he used to point right at you and say, you are not for me. And I think about that. Like, that is what it is. We figure out maybe a softer way to say it for ourselves and for other people, but that's all we're saying. You are not for me. Right now in this moment, I cannot do this. I cannot listen to this conversation. I can't cuddle. I can't receive touch. I can't, cook you a meal, whatever it is. And it has nothing to do with them and very little to do with who we are. It is just who we are in that moment. To just being able to say it. What a sense of safety and ease in our body that we can create all the time when we honor this. And we're not going to do it perfectly. But little by little, this ease with doing it. Okay. Wishing you beautiful boundaries this weekend. If you have any questions of more of how to do it, you can direct message me. You can leave comments underneath this video. You could reach out. There's many more ways to practice with boundaries, but this is a really simple tool that you can use at any time in your own private way without anyone even having to know that you're checking in with yourself. Okay. I love you, bees. Happy weekend.